Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy, and I am an ordained minister. And we are in Bible study. We are in the Niv, and we are in the Book of Nehemiah, and we are in chapter 10. Now, this is a list that is very important to Nehemiah, who's the governor, of the people who signed this legal contract with him about the way this, and since they got to come back after Artaxerxes, the king of Persia, conquered the Babylonians, they got to come back home. So they're being very religious, they're being very formal, and this is a legal document to them. So it's sort of like their version of these people signed their Declaration of Independence because they declared their fathers unfaithful. This is their formal declaration to God of the independence of the demon worship that their parents did. Very important. Those who sealed it were Nehemiah, the governor, the son of Hakaliah, Zedekiah, Sariah, Azariah, Jeremiah, Pashur, Amariah, Melchiah, Hattush, Shebaniah, Maluk, Harim, Meremoth, Obadiah, Daniel, Ginnethon, Baruch, Meshullam. There's a variation of, I don't know quite how, but somehow a variation, I think, of in some languages of Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken. Baijah, Mijamin, 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 Maaziah, Bilgaiah, and Shemaiah. These were the priests. Jeshua, the Levites, Jeshua, son of Azariah, Binnui, of the sons of Henadad, Kadmiel and their associates, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Kelida, Peliah, Hanan, Micah, Rehob, Hashabiah, Zachariah, Sherebiah, Shebaniah, Hodiah, Benaiah, Beniu. Okay, so that was sitting funny with me. No, it's a different M name that means Jonathan, because sometimes in the things you'll hear them refer to Jonathan's, like Jonathan by a different name that starts with an M. I looked up Meshullam just because it was like sitting in there in my brain. And Meshullam is the biblical masculine name meaning befriended. So, like, or a friend or ally, which I find that to be, or peace or complete. I find that to be kind of funny because these are the kinds of things that are associated with what my first name actually is, especially since it's spelled the French way. And when you say it, you say friend. Friend and ally kind of thing. So I like it. That's why I address all of you as hello friends when I start the videos. The leaders of the people, verse 14. Parosh, Pahath Moab, Elam, Zatu, Bani, Boyunai, Asgad, Bibiah, Adonijah, Bigvavi, Aden, Atur, Hezekiah, Hazur, Hodiah, Hashum, Beziah, Harif, Anatoth, Nabiah, Magapayesh, another Meshullam, Hazir, Meshezabel, Zadok, Jedua, Pedaliah, Ananiah, Hosea, Hananiah, Hashub, Helohesh, Pilha, Shobak, Rehum, Hashabaniah, I should say Hashabaniah, because it doesn't have an I, it's A-H, not I-A-H. Masiah, Ahaiah, Hanan, Anan, Maluk, Harum, and Ba'ana, B-A-A-N-A-H. Okay. That might be one of my favorite of these lists of names. The rest of the people, priests, Levites, gatekeepers, singers, temple servants, and all who had separated themselves from the neighboring peoples for the sake of God's law, together with their wives and all their sons and daughters who were able to understand. All those now joined their brothers and nobles and bind themselves with a curse and an oath to follow the law of God given through Moses, the servant of God, and to obey carefully all the commands, regulations, and decrees of the Lord our Lord. We promise not to give our daughters in marriage to the peoples around us, or to take their daughters for our sons. When the neighboring peoples bring merchandise or grain to sell on the Sabbath, we will not buy from them on the Sabbath or on any holy day. Every 7th year we will forego working the land and will cancel all debts. In case you were wondering where we got that 7-year thing in our stuff. That's how ingrained it is. We assume the responsibility for carrying out the commands to give 1/3 of a shekel, that is about 1/8 of an ounce or 4 grams, each year of for the service of the house of God, for the bread set out on the table, for regular grain offerings and burnt offerings, for the offerings on the Sabbath, new moon festivals, and appointed feasts, for the holy offerings, for the sin offerings, to make atonement for Israel, and for all the duties of the house of our God. We, the priests, the Levites, and the people, have cast lots to determine when each of our families is to bring to the house of our God at set times each year a contribution of wood to burn on the altar of the Lord our God, as it is written in the law. And this is where we get this idea that the parish is supposed to help financially support the religious institution, because it's been there in the Bible since the beginning. It's like, without specifically listing one particular place anymore, because we don't have a centralized temple for Protestant religions anyway, mostly. It's where we have the idea in the first place, and that's where the idea of tithing comes from as well. We also assume responsibility for bringing to the house of the Lord each year the first fruits of our crops and of every fruit tree. As it is also written in the law, we will bring our firstborn sons of our cattle, of our herd, and of our flock to the house of God, to the priests ministering there. Moreover, we will bring to the storerooms of the house of our God, to the priests, the first of our ground meal, of our grain offerings, offerings, of the fruit of all our trees, and of our new wine and oil. See, because I'm trying to indicate the pause there. I wasn't doing it right. And we will bring a tithe of our crops to the Levites, for it is the Levites who collect the tithes in all the towns where we work. So, better pause. A priest descended from Aaron is to accompany the Levites when they receive the tithes, and the Levites are to bring 1/10 of the tithes up to the house of our God, to the storerooms of the treasury. The people of Israel, including the Levites, are to bring their contributions of grain, new wine, and oil to the storerooms where the articles for sanctuary are kept, and where the ministering priests, the gatekeepers, and the singers stay. We will not neglect the house of our God. So in their system, because remember, the temple is in Jerusalem, but for a long time, the tabernacle was in Shiloh, which is mountain country of Ephraim, which is like, for me, saying I'm sitting physically here in Tucson, Arizona, and my church could be down the street that I go to, but the place where all the holy articles inside it used to be was sitting up on the top of, Summer Haven, Arizona. You can go look that up and see what the kind of distance that is, and then suggesting I have to walk up there to do something. Walk up there, or if you're lucky, you have a cart or a donkey. I mean, there's a certain type of terrain change that happens. Like when they're talking about lions in the Bible, they're not talking about like African plain lions. They're talking like mountain lions. Because some of this area is hill country. When they say hill country, I mean, they got mountains. You should go take a look at the terrain. The desert around me is like we're in a valley of mountains where I am. But if you go take a look at you don't need to look at Tucson terrain. If you take a look at the area around Jerusalem in like say a geographical 3D map type of thing, you start getting a different idea of where the distances of what they're talking about, what they're looking around. The geology there is quite fascinating, I have to find, for myself. So, it's so ingrained what's in here. This is part of why we have to read the Old Testament. We're influenced in ways we don't even fully understand. It is in our instinct that if we mean something sincerely about it, we will make it a legal contract document and sign our name on it, because that is how our ancestors, especially our religious ancestors here for us Christians, handled the contracts with God. Legally binding, spiritual contracts signed on the dotted line. It's a big promise, right? Makes you think of it in a different way when it's like, wait a minute, you're making the promise to God and you're signing your name to it? Wow. What a promise. The next video, chapter 11 of this same of Nehemiah, is going to be for the residents, the new residents at Jerusalem. So we're going to find out how they're handling in an influx of new people now that the walls are built. Until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name is Amy, and I am an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We're in the Niv. We are in the Book of Nehemiah, and we are in chapter 11, the new residents of Jerusalem. So the walls are constructed, people are safe, the Artaxerxes paid for it all. People tried to jeer, it didn't work. And so, New Jerusalem is constructed. So, now the leaders of the people settled in Jerusalem, and the rest of the peoples cast lots to bring out of every 10 to live in Jerusalem, the holy city, while the remaining were to stay in their own towns. The people commended all the men who volunteered to live in Jerusalem. These are the provincial leaders who settled in Jerusalem. Now some Israelites, priests, Levites, temple servants, and descendants of Solomon's servants lived in the towns of Judah, each on his own property in the various towns, while other people from both Judah and Benjamin lived in Jerusalem. So they're trying to tell you how the mix is going. From the descendants of Judah, Athathiah, son of Uzziah, the son of Zechariah, the son of Amariah, the son of Shephatiah, the son of Mahalalel, is a descendant of Perez, and Maaseiah, son of Baruch, the son of Kolhoz, the son of Haziah, the son of Adadiah, the son of Joarib, the son of Zechariah, a descendant of Shelah. The descendants of Perez, who lived in Jerusalem, totaled 468 able men. Now understand why this would be important. Understand that where they were, it was allotted by. So if that town belonged to Judah, and you were a descendant from, say, Gad, you can't keep land there. You might be able to buy it, but every 50 years it's got to go back. You're not permanently keeping any land. It's not yours until you sell it. Even if you sell it, you have to sell it at a different rate, a discounted rate, based upon when it hits that 50-year mark to give it back. It's in their legal documentation of the Constitution, which you swear to God to follow. So not just to something they can enforce, but also to the Lord. So all of this matters. If you were living in a Judah town, nobody can deny that you're from Judah, because you're not going to marry anybody outside of the family line of Judah. The tribes, the families, children were not intermarrying with each other very often because it changed legal contracts. So it's a big deal to be in the town because you could get denied later. Your descendants could have a problem, so it needed to be recorded. So it was, you were living in Jerusalem, but here's where you're from. Here's your line. From the descendants of Benjamin. Solu of Meshullam, the son of Joed, the son of Pedaiah, the son of Kolaliah, the son of Asaiah, the son of Ithel, the son of Jeshishiah, and his followers, Gabiah, Saliah, 928 men. Joel, son of Zichri, was their chief officer. And Judah, son of Hasunah, was over the second district of the city. From the priests, Jedediah, son of Joiarib, Jachin, Sariah, son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Zadok, the son of Miramoth, the son of Ahitub, the supervisor in the house of God, and their associates who carried on the work for the temple, 822 men. Adadiah, son of Jeroham, Geroham, Jeroham, the son of Peleliah, the son of Amzi, the son of Zechariah, the son of Pashur, the son of Melchijah, and his associates, who were heads of families, 242 men. Amashisaiah, son of Azrael, the son of Ahaziah, the son of, Azariah, we're missing an AH, Azariah, the son of Mishiliamoth, the son of Immer, and his associates. You got a footnote of A. Most Septuagint, that's Greek, Hebrew, it's their associates, who were able men, 128. Their chief officer was Zabdiel, son of Haggedolim. From the Levites, Shemaiah, son of Hashub, the son of Azrikam, Azrikam, the son of Hashabiah, the son of Buni, the son of separate thing, Shabbatiah, and Jozabad, two of the heads of the Levites, who had charge of the outside work of the house of God. So the courtyards, where they might be baking the bread or any of that kind of thing. Mattaniah, son of Micah, the son of Zebiah, the son of Asaph, the director who led in thanksgiving and prayer. Bakbukiah, second among his associates, and Abda, son of Shammua, the son of Galel, the son of Jeduthun. The Levites in the holy city totaled 284. The 284, to say that with more clarity. The gatekeepers, Akub, Talmon, and their associates, who kept watch at the gate, 172 men. So that's it's guard duty. Okay. The rest of the Israelites, who the priests and Levites, were in all the towns of Judah, each on his ancestral property. The temple servants lived on the hill of Ophel, and Ziha and Gishpa were in charge of them. The chief officers of the Levites was in Jerusalem was Uzziah, son of Bani, son of Hashabiah, son of Mattaniah, the son of Micah. Uzziah was one of Asaph's descendants, who were the singers responsible for the service of the house of God. The singers were under the king's orders, which regulated their daily activity. So, remember, David was a singer. He's like the greatest rock star ever, 3,000 years later, and we're all still doing his songs. To be a singer was to, in the in the Levite community, in the prophecy community, in the vision community, is to make you easier to channel God. So it makes you closer to God to be a singer, to be able to channel properly. Okay, so Asaph's descendants, that's a big deal to say you're from Asaph's descendants. Heman's descendants and Asaph's descendants. And Heman had 14 kids. Every single one of them played an instrument or sang. He had his own band. That's how important it was. Because everything they do, remember, they send the singers and the musicians of the Levites out in front of the Ark of the Covenant as they're marching it into battle without weapons. Without weapons. So for their society, it's really very hugely important, and that's why they wrote it down, because it's all contract. Pethathiah, son of Meshezabel, one of the descendants of Zerah, son of Judah, was the king's agent in all affairs relating to the people. He had a PR man, fixer, is his fixer. As for the villages with their fields, some of the people of Judah lived in Kiriath Arba and its surrounding settlements, in Dibon and its settlements, in Jekabizil and its villages, in Jeshua, in Molda, in Beth Pelet, in Hazar Shuel, in Beersheba and its settlements, in Ziklag, in Mechonah and its settlements, in Inrim, in Zorah, in Jarmuth, Zona, Adolam, and their villages, and Lachish and its fields, and Azekah and its settlements. So they were living all the way from Beersheba to the valley of Hinnom. The descendants of the Benjaminites from Geba lived in Michmash, Aijah, Bethel, and its settlements, and Anatoth, Nob, Aniamiah, no, it's missing an M, Aniah, it's hyphenated on me, Anaaniah, Anianiah, and Hazor, Ramah, Gittam, in Hadid, Zobim, Niblat, in Lod, Ono, and in the valley of the craftsmen. Some of the divisions of the Levites of Judah settled in Benjamin. So some did choose to go into the Benjamin territory. So hopefully there was, intermarriage during that time. So, just, better for the DNA sake, if you will. Mix that blood around. The next chapter is about the priests and the Levites, right? So we'll get to find out what they have to say about what families they came from, and what they might be up to or what they might be doing. So it's fascinating to see what they decide to consecrate or not. Until the next video, friends. Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. It is Bible study. We're in the Niv, Romans, chapter 13. It's verses 1 through 14, but it's just chapter 13, because that's the whole chapter 13. This one is, we've got two different parables going on in here. So the first one is called Submission to the Authorities, which I know for some of my particular friends, it's going to be like, because I know some people who grew up in some neighborhoods where they feel like the authority figures were their adversaries. And I understand why. But I'm reading from the Bible. I didn't get to choose the writing. And we're not, if you haven't noticed in the trend, we're not skipping. We're reading the New Testament. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and he will commend you. So, yes, people who are in authority figures are going to have a certain level of corruption. No, he's not saying we don't have to ferret that out. If you go through the Old Testament, it's all kinds in there about ferreting it out. The Holy Spirit is a spirit of justice and truth. But here's the deal. Here's the real deal. Back in that Old Testament days, there are multiple stories of roving. The sun goes down. This is why there are certain rules. You were meant to always have and offer hospitality. Why? Because in every single one of these Old Testament towns, or at least a majority of them, because there's stories, multiple stories of this happening in the Old Testament, where there are apparently these roving band of rapists who just get to roam around and pound on people's doors all night until you throw that guest from the city out into the street so they can rape them right there. And they don't care if it's a man or a woman. They're going to rape them to death because they're there. And you're like, think about what would happen in today's society. We would call the police. And if it was like a big gang, they would come out with the riot gear. If it was big enough, they'd call in the National Guard. Right? None of that existed. None of it existed. Whether or not a foreigner to a town was protected in the night depended completely on the kindness of complete strangers following the word of the Lord. So you need to think about what that means. What situation that would leave you in if you were traveling. I'm sorry, there was a call trying to come in from somebody I don't even know. So, I personally am grateful for the protective authorities, the first responders, and all the rest of that stuff. To me, they're all light workers. Now, are you going to have corruption? Of course. Because in any place that you put people in charge of other people, the devil's going to find a way in. In this area of the world that we're talking about, where our faith comes from, the whole Old Testament is really God sending super-powered psychics who have chosen to talk to him to try to get people who are in authority to actually be decent and fight what is really Baal, or I call it Baal, but it's B-A-A-L. And then in some of the writings I've seen, there's an apostrophe in there, so to me that wouldn't be Baal, but I pronounce things wrong all the time, and you should listen to the biblical scholars just like me. And there's Ashtoreth, also sometimes known as Ashtar, depending upon region. And in the opinion of the writers of the Old Testament, which I have to say I'm in agreement with, but other people's opinions can be what they are. I'm not trying to tell you how to think. You're going to need to decide that yourself. What you're really dealing with there is called chief incubus and succubus energy. Sex demons. People who want to push immorality through sex. They made you burn children in ceremonies to get new children. If you didn't like this child and it didn't look or what, or something was wrong with it and you wanted a healthy baby, you had to burn alive your baby And they called them god and goddess. And it's all over the Old Testament with the kings of Jerusalem creating their own priests and setting up altars, sometimes even burning incense to them inside the temple of the Lord. It's exactly why there was dysphoria. So yeah, there were raving bands of creepy, rapey people all over towns in the Old Testament, because that's who was in charge there. That's why Jesus had to incarnate there, because the demons were running around unchecked. And there was no authority figures that were willing to do anything to protect you. That was at the whim of God as far as they were concerned. It's a good thing there were a lot of people that had actually sought their God, like they were actively in the 3D, willing to put in the work to prove to God that they were trying to be a better person. Verse 4. For he is God's servant to do you good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Now, in this case, they're talking about much more brutal times in which they had the ability to execute or such with only a certain amount of authority needed. These days, we have separation for that. And that's because humans are not very good at controlling their emotions. So, and anybody suffers, because every human suffers from the human condition, because that's what being human means. It means your emotions might overcome your judgment upon occasion. I'm sorry, my technology's doing weird things in the background. He does that sometimes when he wants me to know I'm on target for him. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. This is also why you pay taxes. For their authority are God's servants who give their full time to governing. Governing is an act of service. You are taking on the burdens of other people. And if you're taking on the burdens for other people, you shouldn't have to pay for it out of your own pocket. You deserve to be well paid just like anybody else. Because quite frankly, if they weren't doing their job, your life is pretty crappy. Give everyone what you owe him. If you owe taxes, pay taxes. If revenue, then revenue. If respect, then respect. If honor, then honor. This next part here. Love, for the day is near. Verse 8. Let no debt remain outstanding, except the continuing debt to love one another. For he who loves his fellow man has fulfilled the law. The commandments: do not commit adultery, do not murder, do not steal, do not covet. Now, covet means to want what someone else has. Now, I'm pretty specific. It is okay for you to see somebody having a real, I'm going to give you material objects because it'll be easier for you to see, a real beautiful car. And it's okay to want a car like that car. Like, I want to get me a car like that because that car is awesome. Look, I would be so happy in that car. Let me go get me a car, my own car. Let me go earn it for myself. Yeah. But to want bad enough that you're going to take from that other person what is actually theirs because you don't want to do the work to get your own, that is coveting. That's what it means to covet. It's not just a mild thing. It's not an in passing, like, man, I wish I could be like that. It's not just a moment. Because in that moment, when you have that wish, you're supposed to turn that into motivation to become whatever he's trying to get you to become. And whatever other commandments there may be are all summed up into this one rule. So all 10 commandments, still valid, but saying you're supposed to understand them, condensed into one rule. Because you're supposed to be seeking reasons to be a better person. If you love him, and if you're taking on that discipleship, actively looking for ways to show love and compassion, actively looking for ways to seek a relationship individually with him, where you talk to him and he talks to you. Unconditional love is what he offers, because he offers unconditional forgiveness. Unconditional love requires unconditional trust. It's got to be a two-way street. There is no love without trust. Love your neighbor as yourself. Verse 10. Love does no harm to its neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfillment of the law. And to do this, understanding the present time. There is no time other than this present moment. There is no point in your past that's better than the present moment that you're in. You have complete control over whether this present moment is amazing or terrible, depending upon how you want to interact with it. The hour has come for you to wake up from your slumber. Wake up. Because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. Because the Messiah already came. He came when the world was really at its worst. It was just terrible. I mean, literally, if you were a slave to some of those people in authority, your life could end because you were a party favor, where they thought it was funny to watch you scream as their guests took turns carving skin off of your body, flaying you alive as a punishment. So he came when he had to, because we weren't getting better fast enough. So he can come back whenever he wants, whenever he feels like we're doing bad enough as a group. The night is nearly over. The day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Let us behave decently as in the daytime, not in orgies and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and debauchery, not in dissension and jealousy. Rather, clothe yourself with the Lord Jesus Christ, and do not think about how to gratify the desires of the sinful nature. Everybody has the ability to sin. The area of the world in this particular part, that was, like I'm just said, it was completely surrounded. Every nation around them was worshiping, giving power to the incubus succubus energy. All of them. It's not a matter of whether or not they got into the noble lines there, and it's not a matter of whether or not they got into the priesthoods and the rabbis and stuff. We know that. It just says so. I mean, they're not even pretending. It got in there. It's going to get in any place that it can feed. Whether or not you feed it, it's up to you. It's nobody else's fault. You trust me. I speak to myself as much as you. Other people
will say, and I've experienced it this week, will say they lose their temper. And I say that I have temper tantrums because I know I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I'm a minister. I've spent 25 years in the design and the construction. I have a fair hold of science. I've done quite a bit of study of some psychology. I talk to my subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is in charge of almost everything about you. If you think your conscious mind is where it's at, and that's what you're operating out of, you're out of your mind. You got to be crazy. You would not be able to survive a day, not even close, because you have to literally think, breathe to breathe. And if you have to think, breathe to breathe, how are you going to tell your heart to beat, your stomach to digest, your brain to think? That's all back of the house programming. It's all subconscious mind. Well, your subconscious mind is from 3 to 7 years old. It is literally your inner child. And if you and your subconscious mind, you and your inner child aren't trying to come together and heal, you're going to be your own worst enemy for the rest of your life. And this is really basically what every therapist anywhere is ever going to tell you. When you get them into alignment, though, that's when he gets in. That's when you've opened the door. And you can clear out the gunk. Because everybody else in the world, me, anybody, it doesn't matter. All they can do is say words to you. Those words are meant to inspire you to be the best version of you that you can be. If they're a minister like me, they don't want you to bend the knee to them. They want you to bend the knee next to them. Because in taking on that role, deciding to wear that hat, what they're promising is they're going to bend the knee to him. And he's going to be in charge of everything. He can have everything. Everything and anyone. If he tells me they're going to pull you out of alignment, they try to get into your head, they're going to do something, any of that. If they're treating you with disrespect, then they can't stay. They change your energy to be like theirs. Because as you go into the ascension, you get more and more sensitive. And you are absorbing. And you start mirroring back to them what they're doing to you. It's natural. In fact, it's a technique. It's literally a therapy technique. You use it on your more stubborn people. The hard-headed ones. The ones where, no matter what you say to them, they got to do it the hard way. I encourage you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Please, let yourself be cracked open to him. I don't want anything from you. Thank you for watching.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we're in Bible study. We are in the Niv. We will be through 2025. We are in this video. We are in Psalms, Book 1, Psalm 32, and we are going to do all of Psalm 32. So, it's a Psalm of David. It's a maskil, which they're just not sure what that means in the Niv. So it's a term of honor for someone who you should be listening to, somebody important. Blessed is he whose transgressions are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man whose sin the Lord does not count against him, and in whose spirit is no deceit. When I kept silent, my bones wasted away through my groaning all day long. For day and night your hand was heavy upon me. My strength was sapped as in the heat of summer. Then I acknowledged my sin to you and did not cover up my iniquity. And I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord. And you forgave the guilt of my sin. Selah. Therefore, let everyone who is godly pray to you, while you may be found. Surely, when the mighty waters rise, they do not reach him. You are my hiding place. You will protect me from trouble and surround me with the songs of deliverance. Selah. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you and watch over you. Do not be like the horse or the mule, which have no understanding, but must be controlled by the bit and bridle, or they will not come to you. Many are the woes of the wicked, but the Lord's unfailing love surrounds the man who trusts in him. Rejoice in the Lord and be glad. You are righteous. Sing, all you who are upright in heart.